Hey everyone, welcome to the video. Just want to go over some of my favorite plays for tonight's 7-game NBA slate for tonight on Draftkings. And before we continue, if you could leave a like, and if you're new to the channel, please hit that subscribe button. Really helps me out. Really appreciate it. You can also follow me on Twitter at ChrisPennell16. And if you're interested in the spreadsheets about every single night, links below in the description below for my Patreon. And if you want to check out the NFL content, you don't really have much time to do so, but I posted my lineup building video yesterday, my core plays video on Thursday night, and then my NASCAR video I posted yesterday, which actually NASCAR is my favorite DFS sport. It's what I first started doing here on YouTube. So if you want to check those out, they're there, most recent videos. And yeah, so I say we get right into the video. And as always, I'm just going to talk about the guys I want to talk about. I'm not saying you can't play Giannis just because I'm not talking about him. You can always play LeBron. You can always play Lillard. You can play Davis, Siakam, You can play these guys, but I want to talk about the guys I want to talk about. And I'm going to start off with Joel Embiid at 9,100. And he is my top spin up of the slate going up against Charlotte. And he really doesn't even break the bank either at only 9,100. Now, he doesn't get the monster minutes all the time that, the other big names get like LeBron. But, he can see big minute games. It's just not on average. He doesn't usually see those kind of games. But I do think he's had a couple games in the mid-30s. We saw versus Utah, he got 36. Atlanta, he got 33. Other games, we haven't seen that. But, I think it's fair to project him for about 30 to 32 minutes tonight. And he's also very efficient while on the court. He got 1.67 points per minute, which is only behind Giannis right now, who's gotten an absurd 1.9 points per minute. And I don't mean like out of all players. I just mean on this slate specifically. He's only behind Giannis in that category. And the big thing here is the elite matchup versus Charlotte, who we've routinely targeted big men against. They're giving up 62.7 points per game to centers, which is dead last in the NBA right now. And that no one on the Hornets can defend him, and he should be able to smash here. And 60 points isn't out of the question, and I love his price tag. So he's actually grading out as a pretty good value for me tonight, which, it sounds crazy at 9,100, but he's pretty high up there in terms of value. So Joel Embiid, I think, is a pretty awesome play. I think we can get over 60 points here versus Charlotte. The other guy I like is Kyrie Irving at 9,700. So this game features the highest total of the slate at 233 with a close spread of only 3, which is in the Suns' favor. And also both teams played a pretty fast pace, with Brooklyn playing the second fastest and Phoenix the 9th fastest. So there's going to be plenty of opportunities here, a lot of shots being thrown up. And I will say Phoenix has been pretty good defensively so far, besides big men. But I still like Kyrie a lot here. He's seeing 35 minutes per game, has a 33.7% usage rate, and is getting nearly 1.6 fantasy points per minute. His averages are also incredible, averaging 31.9 points per game, 7.5 assists, and 5.8 rebounds per game. I think he's a pretty good play at this price point. I think his ceilings, he doesn't have the ceiling of like Giannis on a nightly basis, but I think he's a pretty good play at 9,700. And I want pieces of this game, and Kyrie Irving, he's going to have to be a big part of this game. So I think we can get, I think 50 points is probably, just a baseline of what he should get. And I think he's got potential of over 60 points here. And we've seen him have huge games before too. What was it, 76 points versus Minnesota that opening night. So I don't think he's going to do that, but I think we can get over 60 fantasy points with Kyrie as long as those shots are falling, which they pretty much have been this year. So I do like Kyrie. Then on the other side of this game, I like Devin Booker at 7,900. He comes in a little bit cheaper, as he should. And I like this game, and it should be one of the top games of the night. So I want pieces of it. And he's not as safe as Kyrie or anything. That's also baked in his price tag because he's only 7,900 if you just flip the 9 and the 7. That's the only difference between them, right? For price. But he certainly has the upside of Kyrie. I'm not saying he doesn't do it on a nightly basis like Kyrie does, but he's got upside like he does. And also, if you go by some deep analytical research here, I'm just kidding, but he should be due for his good game, because this year's game log, look, 33, 51, 24, 47, 27, 49. So he's been up and down, then 35, then 42. So he's literally been up, down, up, down, up, down. If you made a little flow chart of this, it'd be like this. So I'm not saying it's the reason I like him tonight, but it's just a fun little trend to go by. So he's due for his good game versus Brooklyn, and he can definitely do it. It's a very good matchup versus the Nets. They're 28th versus point guards and 22nd versus shooting guards. And Booker's going to be the main ball handler here. He's got 28.8% usage rate. It's a beatable matchup, and I think we get a pretty nice back and forth game from Booker and Irving here. So I think they make a pretty good correlation stack together. Devin Booker at 7,900. I think he's a pretty decent play here. Definitely a really strong GPP play. Kyrie Irving's better cash game play, but I think they're both fine. Next I want to talk about is in the same game. We're going to go down a little bit here. It's going to be Aron Baynes at 6K even. So just another piece of this game, and we get a big man versus Brooklyn, which is always in play. The Nets are 28th versus opposing centers, and continually give up big games to them. Baynes has been pretty darn good, too, taking over for Ayton since he's been out. I think that continues here. On the year, he's seen about 28 to 30 minutes per game and is sitting at a pretty good 1.24 points per minute, which is actually pretty darn good. And he's got a usage rate of over 20%. Like I said, Baynes has been good too. Three straight 30-point outings and in a good matchup versus Golden State. 4 games ago, he dropped 58 fantasy points in 28 minutes. I'm not saying he'll do that again, but it's a great matchup, and he's been good. And I think he can get you over 40 fantasy points in this matchup. I think he's a safe bet for at least 30, but I think he's definitely got 40-point upside here. And we've seen, it was 59.5 points versus Golden State. I thought it was 58, but read that wrong. 98 looks pretty similar, but yeah, I mean, we've seen the upside from Aron Baynes. I'm not saying he's going to do that, but I think he's got an upside of 40, 50 fantasy points in this matchup. More realistically, 35 to 40, but I do like Aron Baynes quite a bit at 6K. Then a couple value options. Hopefully some more value opens up because there's not a ton of just straightforward value plays. But I don't mind Raul Neto here at 4,500. And like I said, there's not a ton of obvious value plays, so I think we can go back to the Neto well here. The past 2 games with Simmons hurt, he's seen exactly 30 minutes per game, and he's been good. Both games, he scored 25 and 27 fantasy points. Now, he's no longer dirt cheap and just completely free, but at 4,500, it's not too bad, and he should get us near 30 points again versus Charlotte, who doesn't really scare me. So I don't hate him. I'm not in love with him, but he's been fine. 30 minutes versus Utah, tougher matchup, 25 fantasy points. Going against Denver, tougher matchup, 30 minutes, 27 fantasy points. A little softer matchup here versus Charlotte. They're much worse versus big men, but they're not the best defensive team in the world. I think he can get you 30 fantasy points versus Charlotte, and I don't mind that at 4,500. And then one of my other favorite plays in this price range is going to be Norman Powell at 4K even. So there's a lot of injuries on the Raptors right now. And I think he's a pretty safe, strong value play. With Lowry and Ibaka out tonight, the Raptors like to run a short rotation anyway, and Powell should see near 30 minutes tonight, if not more. Now, the Lakers are extremely good on defense, so that's the problem. But there's only one spot they struggle against, and that's shooting guard. And they also are mid-pack versus small forwards. They're 24th versus shooting guards and 14th versus small forwards. So Powell should be able to step up here, get some points, and have a good game given his price tag here. So Norman Powell, I think he makes some sense. He probably have some ownership as well. And then for guys like Siakam and just the other Raptors, they're obviously all going to see bumps, but LA is just very, very good on defense. They're first versus power forwards, first versus centers, fifth versus point guards. But they're gonna play big minutes, so I don't mind them. Van Vliet would be fine, Siakam, OG, whatever. The matchup's just scary though, but they're gonna see big minutes. So the implied team total for the Raptors is pretty ugly though. I believe it's at 103 right now, so that's a little gross, and they are pretty expensive. But they're gonna see big minutes. But anyone out of all the guys on the Raptors, I do prefer Norman Powell the most. But anyway, guys, I think this video was pretty short, but I got a whole bunch of NFL stuff to do and NASCAR stuff to do. But I wanted to get a video out anyway. So I'll see you guys in the next video. I wish you guys the best of luck. I'm sure most of you are playing NFL today. I wish you guys the best of luck if you're happening to play NASCAR. Hope your guy doesn't wreck. Same here. And yeah, see you guys in the next video. Have a good rest of the weekend.